Hello, everyone. Welcome to my PowerPoint. In case you're wondering why am I doing this, if you watched Remi's video on his PowerPoint, you'll know that he nominated some people and he nominated me, so this is my PowerPoint. And I'm not using a script here, and I hope it's gonna sound more genuine because this is a topic I care a little too much about. Water in TDX, right? What's the issue? Well, I think a lot of people already knows what the issue is, and I think the developer team also knows what the issues are. And if you're not sure what the issues are, there are plenty of videos that I will link in the description that you can watch that will pretty much sum up why water right now in TDX is a little bit lackluster. So, what is this presentation going to be about then if I'm not even going to cover what the issue is? Well, if you have taken English class, you might know what this word is. This is exigence, and what it means is an urgent need or demand. So I'm going to be arguing why I think a water update is more urgent and needs to be prioritized over other updates. So, my first point is, why should we care at all, right? Because with only one main programmer, every update for TDX needs to be a banger, simply put, to keep the game up. So, what we've seen, not recently, but has happened, there are debates on water in TDX, and that shows that the community cares about the topic because they're actively engaging in trying to improve the game and what they think would improve. So the fact that there's any debate at all means that water is something that the community cares about. And additionally, I did run a poll on my channel, and majority of people think that the water in TDX could be improved. I know that my audience isn't exactly the perfect representation of what the TDX community wants, but I think because the results are so clear and my content is pretty much TDX based, if you don't look at my older videos, but it's a decent representation of what the TDX community is. And that brings me to, if the community cares so much and you listen and communicate with the community, this will usually lead to a better game. Obviously, there are nuances. This is not always true, but if done in moderation, it is usually true. So I think that makes the water update something that is worth the time and effort to create and prioritize. So, what would the water update do to the game? Well, it offers a new way to play, but in more ways than just adding another tower, right? I believe water towers bring inherent benefits to the tower defense genre because they're essentially a different dimension of towers, right? This allows for more strategy because, first of all, water towers won't be available on every map in the first place. And because there is more strategies to use and more ways to innovate on these strategies, this will enhance the replayability, as you probably won't be just sticking to one strategy all the time unless you're looking at a strategy document, then whatever. This will also be an easy way to create more content without the worry of power creep. Now, power creep is a somewhat controversial topic for TDX, but what I'm basically saying is, even if they accidentally add a water tower that is completely busted, the fact that some maps don't have water at all and you can't use water towers will serve as a natural barrier and defense against power creep. So that means water towers can be more wild, kind of like a wild card, where the developers can release more crazy things and not worry about the balancing of the game being completely ruined. And I also believe that a water update will ultimately improve the game performance. As you see in this graph here, this is the concurrent players of TDX over its lifespan, and these major spikes here are a combination of events and major content updates. And the water rework, I think, would be a major content update, so it would definitely help increase the amount of people playing TDX as well as retain a lot of the players, because it sets up infrastructure for future updates, right? There are two major updates that I think are going to the game. I know Nightmare is already confirmed, so I'm not going to talk about that, but PvP and future events can be vastly improved by a water rework. Because right now, I feel like PvP is definitely not the best idea to do right now, because there's a lot of balancing that needs to be done, and also a lot of the towers in the current roster are just, there's some of them are less useful, and there's really the early game variety, especially knowing how PvP is mostly going to be spamming enemies in the early game. There's not many towers that can do early game and crowd control, so I'm assuming if they did release PvP right now, the meta would just be Slammer or Shotgunner, and there wouldn't be much variety. So adding water towers could add, or adding a water rework could add more variety to those, as well as more variety of specific PvP maps. And also, I think water can help make events more fun, because the recent events did not have the option to use water at all, like the Christmas 2024 event, no water, the MLG event, no water, Halloween, no water. The last time we've got to use water for event, I think was, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was the Tower Battles event. So having more towers available for events would make them feel more fun and replayable. And also, having water reworked will make the game feel more polished, because right now there's only two water towers, being the patrol boat and the warship, and the gap between them is massive. One of them is an early game tower, and the other one is a late game tower that can only be purchased from being level 100, so it doesn't feel finished in my opinion. And now we go to the potential content. This is mainly just me spitballing some stuff off my wish list. I'm sure the developers already have in mind what they're going to do, but maybe they could have some inspiration from this. So obviously, I think the warship should be reworked. It's alright in its current state, but it could be better. And obviously, there would be more water towers, like a destroyer, a cargo ship, or submarine. And if the developers are feeling really fancy, they could try implementing amphibious towers, which means these towers can be placed in both land or water. I wasn't able to come up with many towers that could fit this, but I did come up with, like, or not me, but from existing tower defense games, I've seen stuff like hovercrafts and amphibious mechs, which could be interesting. And also, this could add more map features like underwater sections where enemies can't be targeted by conventional means, but maybe specific naval towers can target enemies that are underwater. And also interactable features. This is more of a general thing that I think could be a fun and healthy feature for the game. We've seen it in the Halloween and also kind of the winter Christmas event, where you have to repair the base and also fire the cannon, which is already very simple interactable features, but I think they helped a lot in terms of the fun factor of those events. And also more enemies. There could be underwater enemies, which I'm not sure how that would work, but could be interesting. And also, if further balance is needed, they could add a naval resistance attribute to existing enemies, which would make water towers less effective against them. So, final thoughts. I don't really know what is going on behind the scenes for the developer, team, so they could have already prioritized a water update after Nightmare, obviously. And transparency itself is a whole other issue that I think deserves a video on its own, and I will not be covering that. And also, please take everything with a grain of salt, as most of this was based off my own opinions, right? And research was strictly empirical. So the validity is yet to be determined and may include, and probably does include, many biases. So yeah, that's it. Oh yeah, and one more thing before the video ends. I would like to nominate Fredericks to make a PowerPoint style video on his channel as well. That'll be all. Bye!